morning, thank you for joining me. I'm giggling to myself because I'm having one of those days where what you see in this lovely shot is a long way away from actual reality. As I've just shoved all that stuff up there. Oh God, now I can't turn you back. Oh, there we are. That should work. Just shoved all that stuff up there so I don't have to look at it. It is actually on my list to deal with all of that shortly. The list for the day. Not having a great week this week because I've been a bit poorly. I think I've said that. I'm filming quite a few today. I think this is the third one I've filmed. So I've said that quite a lot already this morning. Anyway, welcome back to my alphabet series. This is a very occasional series where I work my way through the alphabet, talking about a subject beginning with whichever letter we're up to. And today we are up to the letter G. And I didn't have any great ideas for something I could talk about at enough length for a standalone video. So in my last video, which was the letter before G, which is F, come along Caroline, get with the programme, I asked for some ideas, and I also asked on Instagram, and I've come up with a couple of my own, and I thought I'd just go through the list of things that you've suggested and that I've got, and just talk briefly about a whole host of different subjects that begin with G, because why not? Because I can make the rules and I can change it and it can be however I want it to be, can't it? So it might be a long and chatty one, this one. So I would have liked to have had a cup of coffee. I suggest that you go and make yourselves a cup of tea or a cup of coffee for this one. Yeah, I would have liked to have had a cup of coffee, but I've already had two this morning, so I've got a glass of very dilute ginger cordial because I'm feeling quite dehydrated, and yeah, and it's good to drink. I didn't fancy water, so that's what I'm drinking. I'm also sitting on the bedroom floor. I've filmed a lot of videos in here this week. I usually try and, or recently, not just this week, I usually try and change up the backgrounds for you a little bit and film in different areas, and I apologise if it's all seemed a bit samey recently, but I've got the builders back in, or a builder back in, all week this week, and he's working in the lounge, and there's nowhere really that I can film that is not, that he won't be able to hear me chuntering on, and he doesn't. I don't want to film videos in front of him, and he doesn't want to listen to me filming videos, mostly because I don't want. Anyway, whatever, we're in here again. So let's go through this little list of things beginning with G, and the first one on my list is gratitude. And gratitude is the thing that we hear quite a lot about, isn't it, these days, and how we should record our gratitude in some way. And this always appeals to me because I'm a list maker. I love to see things in black and white on paper, and I like a list, and writing down things that you're thankful for every day is quite a thing. And people have even had whole blogs just on that subject, haven't they? Gratitude blogs. One girl wrote 7 things she was grateful for every day for years. I can't remember what that blog was called. Anybody remember that? It was quite a famous one back in the day. Anyway, I dip in and out of I am grateful on a daily basis for having a lovely life that I love, and my family and my health and all of those things. And I think as you get older you start appreciating little things a little bit more. I'm going to say the phrase in this video, as you get older, loads, I'm sure, because a lot of the subjects are things that I've reflected on differently as I've got older. So yeah, if you hear me say that a lot, don't use it as a drinking game, because yeah, I mean, the idea of gratitude is not a new thing, is it, per se? It's the old saying, count your blessings, is really what gratitude is all about, isn't it? And I remember my mother and my grandmother saying to me when I was a child, count your blessings, you know, don't you know how lucky you are? That's what it all boils down to, isn't it? But I do think it is good to recognise the little things on a daily basis and concentrate. It just helps you turn everything around a little bit more positively, doesn't it? Rather than looking at the negatives in everything all the time. So actually recording daily gratitudes is something that I dip in and out of. I do it when I feel like I need to, that I'm not focusing enough on positive stuff, excuse me, or when there's stuff I want to remember. But I don't do it on a regular, everyday basis at all. It's not something that I do all the time. But but I did want to just mention to you an app that I have on my phone that I find a great way of recording gratitude. It's called Gratitude 365, and you can put a photo in it, or you can have a daily photo, or you can just put a little sentence, or you can write as much or as little as you want, but it's set up as a gratitude journal, and you can add photos to it. And I just think it's a really nice idea. It's a good way of recording it if you're not a pen and paper person. I think a lot of us these days aren't pen and paper people. Using your phone is a different way of doing it, and perhaps something that you could get into the habit if you want to. So Gratitude C365, I'll link it in the description box below. So the next thing that was suggested that I talked about was guilt. And I don't know, that feels like quite a negative thing to talk about. I think as women it's easy for us all to feel guilt, and we do tend to shoulder the burden of guilt, and I'm a problem solver. I want things to be sorted out, and I feel guilt around all sorts of things if they're not sorted out. A lot of people talk about mum guilt, don't they? That they feel guilty when they're not with their child, or they're out working, or they feel guilty if they're with their child and they're bored and they don't. But we just have so much guilt. I think guilt's a very negative thing, and I think we all ought to have less guilt. We ought to be less guilty. I don't know how we go about that at all. I don't know what ways there are of stopping ourselves being guilty, but it's something we recognise, isn't it, in ourselves? And yeah, we should be less guilty. That's my thoughts on guilt. Gin. Not gonna lie, I put gin on the list. I couldn't have a discussion about things beginning with G without putting gin on the list. And gin has become a very complicated thing, hasn't it? Now, don't get me wrong, I love a gin and tonic, but back in the day, you go and order a gin and tonic, and your biggest decision was whether you were going to have slimline tonic or not. I mean, the gin was just the gin, wasn't it? Now, there's hundreds of varieties of gin to choose from, hundreds of varieties of tonic to choose from. What do you want? An orange in it? Do you want a cucumber in it? Some of them even put juniper berries and a bit of dill. I've had one of those miniature gherkins, what are they called? Cornichons? One of those as a garnish in a gin and tonic before now. Very nice it was too. But gin is really bloody complicated, and it's not just complicated when you go into like an upmarket wine bar, or you know, somewhere a bit posh. It's complicated when you go to a bloody pub on the middle of Dartmoor. We went to a town in the middle of Dartmoor in Devon, which is right out in the wilds, right in the countryside, miles from anywhere, for Ashley's Works Christmas do. And we went into the bar of this sort of like a pub with rooms we stayed in type of thing, and went into the bar, and Ashley said, what do you want to drink? And I said, I'd have gin and tonic please, slimline tonic. Thought I'd get that in, so I don't have to be faced with that choice. And he comes back with a gin menu. The bar in the pub in the middle of nowhere, unassuming little place, has a gin menu, and it's not this size. It's a bloody great big huge thing with a double page spread in the middle of about 50 different gins. I was exhausted just reading the thing, let alone selecting one. Don't get me wrong, they all sounded absolutely delicious, you know. But and then once you'd chosen the gin, it was the same again with the tonic. So yes, gin is complicated. That being said, I had a very nice cherry Bakewell gin given to me for Christmas, and I also had a very nice, at that particular pub that I've just talked about, had a rhubarb and ginger gin, which was also very nice. And there was a special tonic that I had with that one that was recommended to go with that. And I can't remember what that is, but you get the idea of gin. Lovely, but very overcomplicated these days. It's going the same way as coffee went. On a slightly deeper note, a subject that was suggested was God. One of the things that I try not to talk about on my channel, although that's not actually strictly true before I say it, one of the things that I think is best avoided discussing, in addition to politics, is religion. So I'm not going to go massively into depth on the issue of God. I think everybody has their own beliefs, and it is important that we all respect everybody else's beliefs in that regard. It's a very personal thing. I will link a video up here that I made that may explain some of my thoughts on religion that I made. It was about a couple of years ago. I think it was 2018 I made it in the springtime. So I'll link that up there if you haven't seen that one. That might be worth a watch. But I think it's fair to say overall that I don't particularly believe in God. I don't have any strong religious beliefs personally. I don't really believe in a higher power. Nothing has ever happened that has led me to believe that anything's out there. And I feel like I'm the type of person that needs some sort of concrete evidence. But I'll leave it there. I think I'll leave that one there. Let's change the subject again and let's move on to a less contentious subject and talk about going without the internet, which I did. I talked about it a little bit in my recent video when I was on the cruise. We went for 7 days, effectively 7 days with no internet connection at all, no email, nothing. And I absolutely loved it. Ashley and I both absolutely loved it. We didn't miss it at all. With a background for anyone who doesn't know, we were on a cruise ship crossing the Atlantic and you could get internet, but it was very expensive. And we decided to do without it. It was the first time I've been without the internet for years and years and years. I really enjoyed it and it has led me to want to spend more time without the internet. I've been making a big effort to leave my phone in the office when I finish work in the evening at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock and not go and get my phone again until I go to bed. Because I bring it in, I use my phone as an alarm clock, so I do bring my, and also just in case my parents ever need me in the evening, which is something I've come, you know, I like to have my phone close to me at night. We don't have a house phone that I can hear from the bedroom, so I do like my phone to be near me at night, so I have the whole evening without my phone. And I've really enjoyed it. I've concentrated much more and enjoyed much more the things that I'm watching on the television because I'm not constantly scrolling on my phone. I felt more engaged with if I'm reading in the evening rather than watching television. I'm not picking up my phone every 5 minutes when I get a message or a notification. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that and I was really quite grateful for those 7 days. It's really made me realise that I don't need the internet to function and be happy all the time. So that was a real good learning process. I thought I would miss it an awful lot more than I did. Bless my lovely son, I picked up my phone to look up what some of the Instagram G suggestions were, and there was a notification that I had a photo message from him, and it was a picture of a coffee on the banisters outside. He'd made me a coffee, bless him, and he could hear that I was filming, so he didn't bring it in. He just left it on the banister and messaged me. So 3rd cup of coffee of the morning. Very nice though. Right, let's whiz through some of these. What makes you giggle? G for giggle. I have quite a dry sense of humour. I'm not sure how much my sense of humour comes across on YouTube. Ashley and I have a very similar sense of humour, and also my brother and I sometimes laugh at the same things, just make us absolutely crease up. It's very dry, and I love a bit of sarcasm, I love a bit of irony. Yeah, the things that make me laugh are, I don't know, it's really difficult to think of examples, isn't it? Because it's random things, but Ashley and I will very often find the same thing hilariously funny. It's generally something quite often in poor taste, if I'm honest. Or there was I can't tell you it because it's so rude, but if you've seen the series Afterlife with Ricky Gervais, there is a bit in that where he goes past the local primary school and one of the kids shouts at him, "You're a pedo," and what he answers the child, I can't repeat it. It may be on YouTube, I don't know. It just made Ashley and I laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh for ages, and we repeat it constantly to each other still about a year after we watched it. Because it's so wrong and in such poor taste, but so hilariously funny. Yeah, so yes, that's my sense of humour. A couple of people have suggested goals. I did touch on goals in my first video of the year, which was a chatty vlog. I'll link it up here if you haven't seen it already. And I do tend to do monthly goals, and I do generally talk about them on YouTube, although I'm probably not going to do standalone monthly goals videos this year. I'll probably incorporate my monthly goals a little bit more into vlogs this year, I think. Someone has suggested great places I've visited, which is a good one. I like this. I think that would merit a whole video of its own, wouldn't it? So perhaps I'll do. I've been threatening for about 3 years to do some travel videos where I talk about places I've been to and places I'd like to go to, and perhaps show you some photos of my travels when I was on the ships. I need to dig the photos out, and yeah, but that is a good video. Great places I've visited recently that spring to mind, obviously New York recently, very recently, and last year also Seville, a bit more unusually. That was a fantastic city and we'd love to go back there again. G-spot, someone suggested. I cannot think of anything to say on that subject that would be appropriate to this YouTube channel, so I'll just leave that one there. What have we got here? Gifting. Gifting. I don't know quite what to talk about with regard to that, but just the word gifting. It's an interesting word, isn't it? And one that has become prevalent in language recently. It used to be called giving. When did we have this? When did this word appear, and why do we need it? It's not like it's a new word, and I'm trying to think for an example of, like, selfie is a shortening of self-portrait, isn't it? But it's something that's new. You never used to be able to take a photo of yourself, but because it just didn't, it wasn't something you did with a camera, was it, or could it do easily? But now you can see the screen, it's easier to do it, and so that's why it's a selfie. It's a new thing. But giving people things is not a new thing, so why are we now calling it gifting? This was gifted to me. And I'm not saying it's a word that I don't use as well. I frequently say in videos, this was kindly gifted. But gift is not a verb. Why is it changed? Why is it changed? Does anybody know? Tell me. Right, someone else has suggested goals. We've covered that. Someone suggested greed. That's interesting, isn't it? Greed, I don't really know what to say about that. That's another word with, it's one of the 7 sins, isn't it? Seven deadly sins? Is greed one of them? Greed and gluttony, I think. But yeah, I don't think any of us like to perceive ourselves as greedy in any way, do we? Someone suggested going to the charity shop. Well, I went to the charity shop this morning. I'm thinking of my new Friday series, 5 on Friday. I might possibly do some eBay stuff with that. I might do 5 things I've sold that week, or 5 things I've bought to sell that week. Might dip my finger back, or my toes back into the eBay videos again. Not in any big way this year, don't get overexcited, but I might incorporate some charity shop type stuff in those Friday videos. Your garden, someone has suggested. I hate gardening. Gardening. The only type of gardening I enjoy is sitting in the garden with a glass of wine or a gin and tonic, a complicated gin and tonic in my hand. I love the garden. We've got a blimmin' big garden that takes a lot of upkeep, and Ashley works very hard in it, bless him. We do occasionally get a gardener, but the gardener's highly unreliable. I think he might get sent to be coming in and out of prison. Just get the impression. Probably shouldn't say that on YouTube. Don't know. Park that one there. Don't like gardening. Definitely don't like gardening. Someone suggested Gucci. Gucci, Greece and guest rooms. Can't show you my guest room at the moment because it's full of stuff from the lounge, because the lounge still isn't finished, because the windows are still wrong. Let's not even go down that rabbit hole. I'll show you. You've seen my guest room anyway. I film in there sometimes. It's the one with the Kylie wallpaper with the sort of mustardy colour. So I like filming in there. It's a lovely room. That's one of my favourite rooms in the house, actually. In fact, possibly is my favourite room in the house. Although I do wish it wasn't full of stuff from the lounge. Greece, one of my favourite countries in the world. We go there every year. Multiple times, been to loads of different places in Greece. There's lots of Greek islands that I'd still like to visit that I haven't. I could quite happily go to Greece every holiday for the rest of my life, really. I mean, I wouldn't particularly want to. I want to go to other places, but I do love Greece. There's a very close place in my heart, does Greece. Gucci. Nothing really to say about Gucci, apart from that blimmin' Gucci belt that I mean, there's so many fakes of it anyway. You know, the Gucci belt, the little thin one with the double G's that everybody in the world seems to have. Someone else suggested gratitude, that's good. Guidance, question mark. So where do you seek guidance from? That's a good question. I'm quite fact-based, so I think I initially seek guidance from, if I need guidance on something, I will do research. God bless the internet, gotta say that. I will research it so I have lots of knowledge at my fingertips. And in times gone by, I would always really value, if I was struggling with something, I tend to be quite a reactive person, and I can react quite strongly and instantly to things. I'm getting better at that as I get older. I haven't said as I get older as much as I thought I was going to say it in this video. There's still time. Excuse me. On my third video filming of the day, and the sore throat is getting worse, I have to say. Yeah, in days gone by, I would very much value my father's opinion on the... Not that I don't value his opinion now, but as I've touched on before in videos, he has dementia. And I would go to my dad for guidance on things that I grappled with or was having difficulty with, because my dad was, or is, always had considered opinions on things and would be quite coolly judgmental. He would keep a cool head, where I would be pretty much the opposite, very reactive. My dad would be more, excuse me, considered in his take on things, and would always give me good advice and guidance when I was struggling with something. I used to, I hate saying used to, I very much valued his opinion on many things over a period of my whole life, really, I guess. Oh, I've been keeping my finger on that, now I've lost it. Right, where are we? I would like to know what you consider as good food. G for good food. I am a foodie too. I like all sorts of things. There's very, very little that I don't like food-wise. I'm not a big fan of polenta. I'm not a big fan of kidneys. I love shellfish. I like Italian food. I think if I had to pick just one region of food, I really like Italian food, and I like Mexican food as well. See, I can't pick just one, can I? I love everything. I like a good Indian when I'm in the mood. I like a nice traditional British roast on a Sunday. I like, all sorts of... I'm not a big sweet person. I would much rather have... My last meal on this earth would be a really nice platter of cheese and biscuits with chutneys and celery and grapes and pieces of apple and a whole array of different cheeses, lots and lots of different cheeses. That would be my last meal on this earth, and a nice glass of red wine or port with that. That would be a perfect last meal for me. Next time I have that, I'm going to feel like it's my last meal now I've said that. Right, I think we've finished that list now. Have I been talking for a long time? Not too bad. The final thought that I wanted to just touch upon is being a grown-up. G for grown-up. Which is quite a strange thing to say at the age of 51, isn't it? But I think all of us don't really... Believe me, when you're 30 and you think about being 50 in 20 years' time, my God, you don't imagine for 1 minute that you will still really essentially feel the same as you did when you were 30. 50 feels like so old, doesn't it? And now I still feel like I've got so much growing up to do in a way. That's a weird thing to say, isn't it? But one thing that makes you feel like a grown-up more than any other thing in this world that I've found so far is as your parents grow older and need you more, and you need to do the role almost reverses, doesn't it? And you become the parent and they become the child, I suppose. And nothing makes you feel like a grown-up more than that transition. And it's, you know, I'm very lucky I've still got both my parents. You know, at the age of 51, plenty of people my age and an awful lot younger don't have their parents anymore. So, you know, I'm incredibly grateful for that. Back to G for gratitude there. But growing old is hard, isn't it? And the fragility of life and just everything, that it becomes more difficult, and so many emotions tied up with that as well. And I've said already in this video, my father has dementia. It's getting worse. I've got to the start. I'm a little bit head in the sand about it, in that anything that comes on the television news about dementia or shows issues with people with dementia or any programmes, I can't watch it. I literally put my hand up in front of my face or turn the television off. I don't want to see images of people in an advanced state of dementia and hear about it. I find I can deal with what's going on with me and my family, but I can't have that in my face. I just so there's obviously something going on, processing it in some way, somewhere. But yes, it does get more difficult as time goes on. And I went to a sort of local event for the people who care for people who have dementia recently, and I felt like that would be quite a good way of talking to other people and getting other people in the same position, their experiences of relations with dementia, and possibly getting some tips and some help and that sort of thing. But unfortunately it wasn't what I was looking for or needing. It was at that time, that particular meeting. But if anyone's got any helpful ideas on that accessing discussion, really, I'm looking for, not really internet based. I'd rather it was in person. So if anybody's got any ideas of where I can go to access that, or has knowledge of such groups or something, that would be good. I'll just put that out there as well. Right, I think we've got to the end of talking about things that begin with G. I actually quite enjoyed doing that this way. Some light-hearted stuff, some less light-hearted stuff. It was more chatty. Perhaps we'll do that for H as well. If you have any ideas for anything you'd like me to talk about beginning with H, I'll probably do that video in a couple of months' time. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I will attempt to have a different background for you in the next video you see. I think it might be a bit of an out and about vlog type thing. So yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.